Hey y'all, I'm Jerdy, and in this video we'll finally be going over Prot Paladin in Phase 4 of Season of Discovery. Finally. Now before we get started, this will be my first guide that I'm releasing to y'all before the phase is actually out. Usually my guides come after the fact, but because we had the PTR and I was able to test out the class a lot and look at potential builds, specs, and gear, I feel more than confident to get a lot of information out to y'all. The only thing you're not going to see on this video is a BIS list because we don't know what the finalized stats are on the tier gear, and I don't want to assume anything and then release false information. I will give y'all my pre-BIS options since WOWHEADs are not out yet, but I will also link WOWHEADs when they're out because I really trust the author who writes that stuff. Again, a big shout out to everybody in the Light Club Discord, and with that being said, let's get on with the video. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the new runes that are coming out just because I've already gone over that in my other videos regarding the PTR, but I will give us a quick refresher on what's changed and what was added and what's baseline, yada yada yada. So the new runes introduced for our cloak are Shield of Righteousness, Shock and Awe, and Righteous Vengeance. Shock and Awe was Vindicator, but that got moved to the Vindication talent in the red tree, and that's super important because we're going to be using that in our single target deep prop build, which I'll talk about in the talent section of this video. Seal of Martyrdom and Exorcist are now baseline abilities, no longer runes in Phase 4. They have been replaced by Divine Light, a healer rune, and Aura Mastery, a DPS healer or tank rune depending on how you see it. Horn of Lordaeron is gone. It's replaced by Hallowed Ground, that is a healing consecration rune. And Enlightened Judgments has been removed and replaced with Malleable Protection, which is our divine protection from Wrath of the Lich King. And also, when you have Malleable Protection, when Holy Shield is up, each point of defense above 300 is converted to 4 attack power. This is also really huge, and we'll talk about that going into our stats and Prebis section. Other abilities that were added that aren't runes are Avenging Wrath, our offensive cooldown where we get 20% damage and healing done for 20 seconds, and Divine Steed, where we hop on a cool little horsey for 3 seconds. It acts as a gap closer for PvP, but can also be useful for PvE. There were also some other rune changes that we'll talk about in the talent section, and we also have these new ring runes called utility runes where they give us plus specific weapon specializations like +5 swords, axes, etc., but also holy specialization and defense specialization, which you'll see right now. So this first talent tree I'm showing y'all is a single target deep prop build, and yes, I am talking about deep prot. This is the first time I'm talking about deep prot because deep prot is actually really strong going into Phase 4 because of these holy shield buffs. So if you look at this talent tree, I know we don't have consecration. It might seem like a bad thing, but in reality, when you check out the rotation, it actually is nice because we just wouldn't have time to use this ability. We go into the red tree for the Vindication talent because when you spec fully into it, you gain a 15% attack power buff when you apply that Vindication debuff. We're also going into 2% crit with Conviction over Pursuit of Justice just because you can get the Pursuit of Justice talent as an enchant on your boots. We spec all the way down to the Holy Shield, and Holy Shield also has a change going into Phase 4, where activating Holy Shield will also grant you 2 spell power for each point of defense beyond 300. So Holy Shield gives us spell power, while the Malleable Protection rune gives us attack power with Holy Shield. For the runes that we run Improved Sanctuary, Shield of Righteousness, Aegis, which got some changes going into Phase 4, increases your block value by 30% and modifies your Readout talent. Readout now also has a 10% chance to trigger from any melee or ranged attack against you, and always triggers when you deal a melee critical strike. In addition, your Reckoning talent now gains a 2% chance per talent point to trigger from any melee or ranged attack against you. This makes Reckoning better. It still favors us to have crit as a stat. We'll go Hammer of the Righteous for wrists, Art of War for feet. Art of War also got a change if you haven't been keeping up. No longer does it fully reset Exorcism, and now only resets it by 2 seconds. Avenger Shield for legs, however, this is a very situational rune. If you need an extra kick, you can go with Rebuke. If you want Aura Mastery for some extra fire resist on Molten Core, you can go Aura Mastery. There's a lot of options for the leg rune. We are just defaulting to Avenger Shield. Malleable Protection for the waist, Hand of Reckoning for the hands, and then your ring runes will be Holy Specialization and Defense Specialization. This next talent tree is more of an AoE deep prop build as we go into Consecration this time and only go up to parry in the red tree. Everything will stay the same with your build, except you could mess with Wrath instead of improved Blessing of Sanctuary. And if you're in a dungeon, I would recommend Guarded by the Light over Art of War. This is just for dungeon purposes though, not for any AoE style boss. You would still want to run Art of War. These next 3 specs are all focused on red tanking, assuming you still want a red tank going into phase 4. We don't know if that's possible yet, so what I'm giving you here is a step-by-step build into slowly going back into 2-hand tanking, assuming we can in these new raids. So in this first step, we're going up to shield specialization and sacrificing Vengeance for some more mitigation. With the runes we run Wrath, Shield of Righteousness, Aegis, Purifying Power, because we're more focused on crits and resetting extras faster with Art of War. So this will feel more similar to how we have been playing Tank Paladin for the past few phases. And then we'll run Sheath of Light instead of Malleable Protection since we don't have Holy Shield to gain that buff from. You could, however, still run Malleable Protection if you want that defensive cooldown. The next step is now taking away shield specialization and a little bit of toughness to get Vengeance. Same runes still, same runes for this one. The next step afterwards now puts us into 2-hand specialization and pretty much no mitigation from the protection tree. And our runes now will be Wrath, Righteous Vengeance, Divine Storm, Aura Mastery, still with Purifying Power and the Art of War. This is a fast 2-hand tanking playstyle, very similar to what we have been doing the past 2 phases. Now, in regards to leveling, if you're gonna go out in the open world and you're kind of doing it solo or with a group of friends and you're mainly questing, go ahead and stay red if you've been following my guide. If you're going to dungeon spam though, the moment you ding 51, go ahead and spec into Deep Prot and get Consecration. We're going to have Malleable Protection at launch because it was Enlightened Judgments. The only rune that we're going to miss from this is going to be Shield of Righteousness. Everything else we're going to have, assuming you collected it. So a few things before we go on to Prebis. 1, if you can't tell, this was shot at a different time versus the rest of the video. And 2, after our gear got updated, like there was updates to the tier gear a lot, and that scared us at first, but now we're okay. There was updates to the 0.5 gear that scared us a lot, but now it's okay. And then there was updates to the PvP gear, which is insanely good, especially with the stamina it gives you. After all that was changed, I was shared the information on like your ultimate Prebis, which does promote 2-hand red tanking, and the BIS gear for the phase. But the reality is that was shared by the WOWHEAD author and he has not published that on his site yet. So I'm going to be straight up. I just feel like I'm stealing. If I post that first before he does, I just stole his information before he even got to post it. So I'm not going to do that. I will say though, if you look at the PvP gear, it's insane. And the tank gear for the tank tier is insane as well. But I'm not going to sit here and advertise and post it because I'm sorry, it's just stealing and I'm not going to do that. When WOWHEAD does get updated though, hopefully around next week, I'll post another video talking about updated Prebis and BIS gear for y'all to look at going into Molten Core. So let's talk about stats first. And the stats you want as a protection paladin is not just defense. We don't want to just fully stack defense and call it a day, right? That's not what we want. Because although defense's attack power conversion and spell power conversion is cool, raw attack power does not scale with buffs like Mark of the Wild and Kings. Raw attack power does scale with Vindication, which is why we spec into it, but it doesn't scale with other buffs. We don't want to ignore agility and crit completely because we still want to reduce our exorcism cooldown. And we always want to have a healthy amount of stamina, ideally above 8k, and then any gear with strength, defense, and shield block value, because shield block value buffs Sanctuary and Shield of Righteousness, will be some of our best items to have. So the first set I have on here is the Zero Soulforge set, and I'll post all the sets in the description below. But this set focuses mainly on the Deathbone set from Skullomance, while offering some other pieces as well. I want to talk about War Master Laggards because they have strength, defense, and block value. A solid piece for any set you're rocking. And then the non-tank piece on here is Helm of the Executioner, but it has 2% hit, 20 stamina, and 14 strength. A really solid piece for keeping us at hit cap and giving us a healthy amount of stamina. And I put Fell Hardened Braces on here, but if you're exalted with Warsong Golds, go ahead and rock the Berserker Bracers because it only offers 3 defense, which isn't a lot, versus the Berserker Bracers having strength, stamina, and agility on them. The Pure Soulforge set rocks all the tank gear except for the hands. I put the DPS ones on here because it has that 1% crit and 16 strength. Right now, still, the database shows that this only has stamina on it. It's going to be stronger because we want to have that crit and we want to have that strength, and it only has 18 stamina versus this having 12, so you're not missing out on a lot. And then right here is the Death Cap set. Now it says 415 on there if you're looking at it, but it does not count the ring rune that gives us 25, so that puts us at 440. It involves a mixture of mostly the Deathbone set with the Soulforge helm. The only issue with this is you're going to pretty much grab all the Soulforge gear anyways because the helm is the last part of the chain. You don't pick which pieces you want to do. At least in Classic you didn't. Maybe that'll change in SOD. And then the Balance set, which is rocking mostly Soulforge with the Deathbone chest to get us at that 415 mark without the ring. So all these sets will, in my opinion, get you covered going into Molten Core. They don't include fire resistance, and I'll have a link in the description below on how to get fire resistance gear. It just depends on what heat level you're doing, and we have no idea what these heat levels mean. So I'm not going to speak on how much fire resistance you need when I have no idea if these raid bosses are going to be anywhere near the same as they were in Classic. And now let's talk about weapons. What weapons can you get for Prebis going into Phase 4? There are a lot of options, and slow weapons do kind of make a comeback because of the Reckoning buff with Aegis and other extra swing procs like Hand of Justice. Your best slow weapon is going to be Iron Foe because it grants 2 extra attacks on your next swing, but other slow weapons will be okay since we have the Reckoning buff and Hodge, but you will need Hodge, I think, for this to be viable. For fast weapons, your best one's going to be Hammer of the Fallen Thane because of its lifesteal and its 22 stamina on it. After that, you can pick up the Jawbreaker, Blade of Necromancy, or Lord Blackwood's Blade. I'm putting that at the bottom of the barrel just because it only offers stamina. There's no green text, there's no crit or agility like Blade of Necromancy has and Jawbreaker has. And we're thinking Hammer of the Fallen Thane is going to be a quest reward item because it has no level requirement on it. So this should be a really easy one to get, assuming we're right. And for your Librams, if you're spec into Improved Sealed Crusader, then you can rock Libram of Fervor or let your Red Paladins take care of that. But the other Librams you can get will be your Libram from Sunken Temple, the Libram of Sacrilege for that 2% block with Holy Shield. And there's also Libram of the Devoted, but this is good for like dungeons and trash and raids and like solo farming. I wouldn't recommend this over the other 2 Librams because mana is not going to be an issue when you're fighting a boss. For your rotation, you're going to prio Holy Shield being up, and you want to hit Exorcism as soon as it's off cooldown. In regards to your opener, pre-pop Holy Shield for the spell power and attack power buff. Hit your Wings, your Avenging Wrath, throw your Avenger Shield and your Exorcism as you're charging in, and then start using your melee ranged abilities. The least important ability is going to be your Judgment and Reseal, just because it's our weakest ability. Only judge and reseal when you have time to do so. In this clip, you're going to see me doing the rotation wrong a little bit because it was a PTR and I was learning, but there are abilities you want to prio. This is why I don't like having Consecration with a single target build, because it's just another button that I can't press. And I think that's it from me, you guys. That is all the information I have for you today. I will try to get a BIS list out to y'all as soon as we can get the finalized tier stats and all the raid pieces out to us. That way I know for sure what is and isn't BIS, and I can get the information from people who are also way smarter than me, so I don't lie to y'all on a YouTube video. Leave a comment down below if this was helpful. Let me know if you're also excited for Phase 4. Guys, I'm so hyped. It's finally happening. We're finally getting to 60 in Season of Discovery, and there is a buttload of open world content and dungeon content to do. And I hope you're excited, and if you've been taking a break, I hope you're coming back to experience the end game of Season of Discovery. Before I close out, some personal news. If you've been following my channel, you know that I've been talking about the MMO Awards. I was nominated for the Sprout Award, aka the Up and Coming Content Creator of the Year Award, and I'm happy to announce I made it to the second round, the final round. 4 of us advanced up, and now there is a final round of voting. I'll put a link in the description below. This one is not a write-in. You just click my name after logging in and submit your vote. A big thank you to those of y'all who voted for me, and thank you to anybody who watches my content in the first place. I really, really, really appreciate y'all. Don't forget the sub. I forgot if I said that or not. I'm so close to the 500 mark. Follow me on twitch.tv/dirtyjd. You'll see me streaming a lot more when Phase 4 is out. And thanks for stopping by and saying hi. And next time I see y'all, we'll be on Black Rock Mountain.